Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of our new devotional series, A Journey Through John. This one's going to be slightly different from the past two series. The last couple we were going through letters, but the Gospels are more of a collection of narratives. So instead of focusing it on just little teeny tiny chunks of one or two verses, we're going to be looking at entire narrative chunks. And while we're doing this, it is important to keep the big overarching picture in mind. So, whenever you finish reading one of the little blips about an event that happened, you need to go back and slot it in and say, how does this fit into the way that the Bible portrays Jesus? And John the Gospel writer actually had this in mind with the way he started his book. The first sentence in the beginning, it matches up, or as Tim Mackey and John Collins from Bible Projects like to say, it hyperlinks back to the very beginning of the Bible itself. And if you look a few verses down, John the Baptist, what it says about him also parallels on a somewhat smaller scale the entire story of what God was trying to do with the nation of Israel. He went in and chose one people group to bear witness to the light that he was trying to bring into the world. And then later on in verses 9 through 13, the parallels continue again. When God reveals himself to people, or tries to reveal himself, they don't necessarily recognize him. Verse 11, the word that they use there, the NIV translation says his own did not receive him, in contrast to verse 10 where it says recognize, which suggests that it may have been more of a willful blindness where he didn't match up with their idea of what they wanted him to be, and so they ignored and rejected him that way. But verses 12 and 13, it says, but to all who did receive him, to those who believe, he gave the right to become children of God, which is exactly what he does through the entire story of the Old Testament. When his people don't accept him, but then there's someone from the surrounding nations who's willing to listen and obey, he brings them into the fold of his people and treats them the same way as the nation he chose, regardless of whether or not they were physically descended from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That didn't matter. What mattered was that they received him. So why is John trying to bring attention to this specific instance of a smaller parallel of God's overall story for Israel? Verse 14 gives us a clue when he says, the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. He actually took on human form, and he's not just visiting, he's making a dwelling, he's actually living. That implies a desire for closeness, for community, for a personal relationship. Whereas, back in the Old Testament, only a specific tribe of priests could go into the holy place where God was. Now he wants to deal with us individually, personally. So the question I'm going to leave you with today is, are we willing to accept, seek after, and pursue that personal relationship that he desires to have with us? Or are we like the people he chose but who rejected him, either unwilling or afraid to let him in?